Imagine for a moment, what would it be like to have a stack of thank you notes so high that your thank you note box can hardly contain it. And those notes came from clients and customers and fans who had an incredible result in their life and their business because of you. Actually, I've got a stack of thank you notes sitting right in front of me. I'm going to tell you what these are in just a second. But part of your success as an entrepreneur comes down to these two things. Number one, you being perceived as an authority, as an expert, or as an influencer in your niche. And the second thing is communicating in such a way that people take action because, and you should write this down, it's not what you say, but it's what they hear. Today, I'm going to be interviewing one of my longtime friends and former clients who has totally reinvented and transitioned herself and her business. And you're going to hear this incredible seven-figure success story. EdTalks Live is next. Hey there, welcome to the show. My name is Ed Rush, 5-time #1 best-selling author, your host for the #1 most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. This is EdTalks Live. We air every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern, and you can't miss it. Today, I'm interviewing Mari-Carmen Pizarro, who is going to share how to be a powerful influencer. Listen, I've been with Mari-Carmen since the beginning of her story into entrepreneurship, and simply put, she has blown me away. And so immediately when I started doing this show, I reached out to her. We got this date set on the calendar, and you're going to learn how to rapidly, and I mean rapidly, you're going to hear this story, transition yourself into the market that you want to connect with and get paid what you're worth. By the way, if you just joined us, jump in on the right-hand side on chat, on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, that's right below you. I want to say hello to some of my friends in chat. What's up, Mike Toy? He said, I'm the first one here. Yeah, dude, that makes you the leader. Hey, Wendell Bugs, good to see you as well. By the way, I have a stack of notes in front of me. And this one right here, Wendell, is from you. So I just want to say thank you for this really kind note. For those of you who took the time to write an email or a note, this was after Big Pivot. These mean a lot. Sometimes, man, you don't know. Sometimes hey, I taught for a little while, but you don't know the kind of influence that you had on someone's life. I've got another one here. This is from Dennis Bauer. This one is from Miriam Tyson. Just an incredible note. Thank you for that. Ron Penska, Jill and David Stoll, longtime clients of mine, and Amy Lykosh. I'm just pulling up the ones that I got this week in my box. And I started today's show by talking about these thank you notes. I don't do business to get thank you notes, but it is a reminder that you've made a difference in someone's life. And I started with that question, which is, imagine what it would be like to have a box of thank you notes. I've got a wooden box my wife gave me about 10 years ago, and the top sits up like this. It doesn't close anymore because it's so full of notes. Now think about this for a second. Most of the notes that I received were from people who paid me for whatever they just said thank you for. And this is the amazing world that we live in, where you can get remunerated for the incredible work that you're doing. Hey, Marianne, good to see you as well. The flight leadership coach from New Mexico. What's up, Jim Butts? Good to see you as well. By the way, Marianne, I talked to Michael Hague this week. He said you guys had a great session together. Hello, Linda. Linda's crushing it in the academic world, which has really radically changed. Robert, good to see you as well. Sally, welcome back to the show. Hello, Aubrey Hudson. Celie, hello. Welcome to the show. David Zett says, Ed for president. Let me tell you, having people reach out to you, wanting to work with you is a lot more fun than prospecting. I feel a big shift, and you're doing great. Lonica from the Great White North. What's going on? Good to see you as well. If you don't know Lonica Stephen, you should. She's the kind of person that can get your business on the rails and on autopilot. All right, so let's get cranking into today. I'm going to bring Mari-Carmen. By the way, she's from Philadelphia, but she doesn't have a Philadelphia accent at all. So welcome to the show. I'm going to do an introduction, but I just wanted to say welcome. You're awesome.
Thank you.
So I first met Mari-Carmen Pizarro, I think it was about 4 years ago. and she was transitioning out of the corporate world. Now, when I say transitioning, she wasn't some low-level executive. She was actually a very high-level executive in a very influential and powerful company. But really what she had was a passion. And much like you, when you transition, sometimes it's not so much the money, sometimes it's because you feel like, I just have such a burning in my heart to help and impact people. And that was so true for her. Now, she had quite a significant salary that she needed to replace though. And so when we got together, we started working on the money side, and her success was fast because she implemented fast. And so we're going to talk today about how to become a person of influence, how to use your online and offline media and your words to connect with the kind of people that you want to connect with. But Mari-Carmen, if we could go back, I want you to tell the story of that transition, because it was so well done, and it looks so, I know it wasn't seamless, but it looks so seamless from the outside looking in. Take us back to when that was. I think it was maybe 2015, 2016. Take us back to those days.
So you're right. It sounds like it from the outside, it just feels so easy. And the same way, like when you invited me here, it looks so easy. And then I'm here, I'm looking at all of these beautiful people in the chat. How are you, everyone? So yes, I do have an accent, and that accent is from Spain.
Not from downtown Philly, but Philly. Hey, Philly.
It's been my home for a while now. So I came to the United States with an amazing job offer. So I'm the typical, extremely driven leader in corporate, and one of the things in my bucket list was to work in English. So I was in charge of big territories, including Spanish-speaking countries in Latin America, Puerto Rico. I worked in Spain. And then I had my bucket list was to come to the US. So I come here with an amazing job offer, amazing, everything I wanted. And it was during that transition that my then husband and I decided to split. I had two small children. So I'm like, screw it. I can do whatever, I'm invincible. I'm going to go, I'm going to, change the world and continue to grow. And it was hard, man. At first, I didn't even speak the English I speak today. So new language for two babies. Wow. My ex-husband stayed in Puerto Rico for a while. We were living in Puerto Rico at the time. And work is going great. So I was able to manage. I found a babysitter. Life was tough, but everything was going well. And one of my children was sick. But she was not sick like you take her to a doctor and she takes a pill. It was more emotional, right? She was going through a deep depression. I had no idea, because I was crushing it at work. I was busy. I was out of the house. I had babysitters. I had drivers, you name it. The tutors, they were taken care of. Until one day I come home and she says, Mom, the pain is so much that sometimes I don't want to live anymore.
Whoa.
And I had no idea.
How old was she?
She was 16.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I had no idea that depression physically hurts. I thought she was sad. I thought she was moody. But I didn't have the time, because I was dedicating my time to what I thought in the moment was what they needed. A mom to take care of every one of their needs by paying for it. Right? So I was not giving them time. I was giving them whatever I thought it was the right thing to do. At that moment I thought, but I was an awakening. I'm like, what do I do now? I go back to work. And, if you are I never thought about leaving corporate because I was happy. It's not that my soul was sucked. It's not that I was having a bad time. I was making a lot of money. I was taken care of from my company, but I knew that the next level, which is what I want now, my bucket list kept growing, I was gonna make more money, but it was going to take more of my time. How can I care for somebody that is feeling that life is not worth anymore?
Right.
So I took some time off, and my promise to her was like, I would go through the same, whatever treatment you go through, I'll go through. I have no idea why I said that. That didn't even make sense. I'm like, sure, I'm gonna go to a psych, to the psych ward in a hospital. I had no idea what was gonna happen. But she chose the holistic road to recovery. And I I kept my promise, and I went through the same journey with her. What happened in that journey and the gift that her ailment gave me was finding myself. And once I found myself, it was impossible to go back to the life I had before. Only a few months. It was impossible. But how do I leave all of that money on the table? Leave the job of my dreams. The promotion was there. Like, I had the letter already for the job offer.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, if I remember, when you say leaving money on the table, this is high six-figure money on the table we're talking about, right? I mean, this isn't chump change. This is legit, like, you're walking away from a lot of, anyway, keep going.
But Ed, something broke open in me during that time of really understanding my spirituality had gone through hell, right? I had no practices. I had no communication with my children because I really, honestly, from my heart, I thought what they needed was the tutor, the driver, the this, the that, all these people taking care of them. And I went back to work, and I'm like, how do I do this? And I knew I had a toolbox. And that offer letter that was presented to me the day I was leaving, giving me the job that I worked all my 23 years working for that job. I wanted to be the global head of human resources at that time. I knew that was happening for a reason. And one of the reasons was to confirm that, girl, you rock.
Yeah.
There's something in you that is good enough that we trust you to lead this function for a multinational company.
Yeah.
And I decided to take my toolbox and get out.
Wow.
And I did. And let me tell you, that toolbox stayed closed for the first months. I was freaking lost. Considering myself, I felt like naked, like something was stripped out of me. I didn't have a title. I didn't have a board of directors that was going to give me accolades. I certainly did not have a salary coming in, no matter what.
Yeah.
And it was short and it was intense. Right, that feeling of desolation, that feelings of isolation, actually, I should have said. And I've always felt guided, even when I made the wrong decisions. And I knew God had a different plan for me. And when I met Ed, it was not a coincidence. It was not a coincidence. I started dabbling with the idea of writing a book. And then I'm like, I didn't know enough coaches. But when I saw Ed speak about implementation, taking action, about failing and getting up again, about having systems in your life so that you can move forward. Everything I was saying, even though it was not in corporate, and the only speak I knew was corporate speak back then, I realized that, I like the language that he speaks. I'm an implementer. What if I start taking some level of action? And I started small. I started buying some of his smaller courses. Then I joined the mastermind. Then I hired him as my coach. He's being here in this room with me, which to me is like amazing, telling me word by word what to say. Right? Isn't that amazing, Ed?
There's a side story to that. So we had done coaching. I think it was 3 years actually. We did coaching together. Yeah. And I do an event. I used to do an event every summer in Philadelphia. So when we did our coaching schedule, I said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Philly. Let's just meet someplace." So we met in her home office. Yeah. And I remember you were like, "These feel so weird to me. I'm used to going, like
you have the right accent.
So, I want to just go back really quickly. First of all, some amazing questions or comments in chat. Salih said something, which is thank goodness she told you, which is really true. And Harisha says, wonderful mom, which I couldn't agree with more. Barry Gamar, who said, I'm late, but Mari-Carmen is amazing. And Catherine says, you're amazing as well. She said, I too was that human resources VP global executive and single mom and was always trying to do my best. She says, looking back, it's amazing how much I missed. I think she either means missed my kids or messed with my kids. I think it's one of those two.
Yeah, I get it.
But it's interesting. The way that your mind works is fascinating to me. You interpret things truly. You interpret things differently than most people that I've met, and I mean that as a compliment. So you got your job. You got the job offer that you wanted. And most people would have interpreted that one of two ways wrongly. Number one, they would have said, oh, this is the universe telling me I'm supposed to take the job, right? Or number two, people would go, oh, now I have to feel this regret for the rest of my life at not taking the job. But what you interpreted it as is you said, hey, this is my validation. This is telling me that I'm good. And now I can transition using the momentum from that. And I find that fascinating. And as you're watching this, it's really, really an important point. Life, I don't even know how to say this without using a bad word. Life delivers you a constant stream of junk. Let me just put it that way. And how you interpret that makes all of the difference in the world. And the things that are good that happen to you as well. I mean, like I said, most people would have wallowed in regret for years. I don't know why I didn't take the promotion, but you made the decision, you transitioned, you used that as an accelerator. And then the first time we met, you came to, I think it was an author event that we did here in San Diego. And immediately you signed up for coaching. And we have that little cocktail reception where everybody was meeting. And you and I had a conversation there that I think did like a 10-degree shift for you. And all of a sudden, boom, money started coming in. So let's talk a little bit about that. I want you to talk about that transition that you took, which was really, really huge.
The transition from corporate to...
Yeah, and then the transition from sort of, I'm not sure what I'm doing in the entrepreneurship world into, hey, these are my people, and this is my niche.
Well, I had a lot of help from, I had a lot of help. One of the things I did when I was in corporate is I was a part of my subscription early on was executive coaching. So I had a bunch of certifications. I had stuff in that toolbox that stayed closed for a while because I didn't even know that I needed to open it back, for about 3 months. And one of the things I did later in my career was created an internal executive coaching program, and I would hire people. And I remember I loved some of those coaches, but not all of them. I'm like, man, what if I can be one of them? And what if I can just have a handful of clients? What if I can replace half of my salary and have all the time in the world to take care of my children? And I had an idea how to negotiate things because I was in the receiving end. But I really didn't. So we had that cocktail reception and I had like papers and I was really shy and I saw Ed, I'm like, oh, the teacher, when you see the teacher. And
he's not shy.
I stood there.
He's not shy.
I stood there and he came to me and he's like, so what's up? I want to be this thing and I want to do and I want to. So I showed him what I had made the year before on my own. And he said, I remember what you said. I was thinking of changing gears. There's something I have a passion for health and fitness. And all my life I've been a personal trainer. That's something I do on the side. I still do it for fun. Mm-hmm. Right. So I said, I had a health coaching certificate. I took a bunch of certifications also. Guys, you don't need that many. Please don't waste your time. Yeah. I was afraid that my toolbox was not deep enough. And so I said, I want to be America's health coach, most trusted health coach, something like that. And do you remember? And he looked at me, and I shared this with my husband, who was completely, not necessarily completely on board with crazy things I was doing. He said, all right. Mm-hmm, I hear you. You are standing on a mountain of gold. It just has dirt. Do you remember that, Ed? And you draw it and you draw. Ed draws, like he started drawing on my notebook with my pen. Draw mountain and I'm there, a stick figure. And you want to get down of here and go dig for gold somewhere else that you know there's gold. But there's gold here. And that blew my mind. I'm like, what's our dream? Like people with their credit card after us? That was me. The gold one. Where do I sign up? Because it was the realization that I was having. I had that toolbox. I had decided that I had it. I had confirmation and validation. And still, once I was on my own, I was afraid.
Yeah.
And that changed everything, Ed.
It's interesting, and we're going to talk about what happened next, but it is interesting. I would say at least half. So I have a category of coaching students that I call reinventors. Mari-Carmen was a reinventor, a person who's coming from one very successful career into something else. And a classic reinventor is somebody who has had success, but not necessarily with the new thing that they're doing. And about at least half of the reinventors I work with, the mountain of gold analogy is great. I totally forgot that drawing, but now that you got my memory back. So about half of the people that I call reinventors literally come out of something that a market that they own, and then they look over here at some other market that they're kind of interested in, and they're like, hey, let's go do this one. And I will tell you, I'm not immune to that. When I first came out of the Marine Corps as a Top Gun graduate fighter pilot, I would go to these business events and I would dress in this business suit, and I would never talk about the military, and I would never talk about my flying, because I always thought, well, I'm doing business now. And the people are like, what do you teach? And I'm like, I teach leadership. Like this strange 30-some-year-old guy just shows up in a suit. And finally, my wife's like, you need to talk about that fighter pilot stuff. I'm like, I know, but I want to talk about business. She's like, you need to talk about it, because that's your mountain of gold, is really what she was saying. And so we had that conversation. You ended up getting into coaching, and then you went to your mountain of gold. And talk about what happened next.
So it really, there's a lot of technique and strategy that Ed gave me, and I will share with you. And the first thing that had to happen was that mindset shift. I'm very visual. I saw that mountain of gold, and that mountain of gold had dirt over it. So I couldn't see the gold necessarily, but he saw it, and he said, how much was your salary? How much? Half? He's like, what about we replace the whole thing? So he gave me hope. He believed in me. And it was the mindset shift that, yeah, I made a decision. There is a mountain of gold. And then, you know what? Oh man, at least every 3 months I had an idea of going into something, health coaching or personal training or fitness. And I kept going. I'm like, I'll do that later. I never did. And didn't have to. I'll do that later. So it was like a beach ball that comes. I'm in the beach, I'm enjoying, and this ball comes, and I had to just push it aside versus pulling it under the water and having all of these balls under the water. It was the refocusing. There's a mountain of gold. We just need to dig there.
Yeah.
Just stay there. So that mindset shift was very, very important, because that gave me the focus, that laser focus that I needed.
Yeah, and it was all there. And so just as you're watching, and by the way, I should do this a whole bunch. We just had at least 10 or 20 people just join us in the last 5 or 10 minutes. So thank you for joining us. My name is Ed Rush. I'm here with Mari-Carmen Pizarro. We're talking about how to be a powerful influencer. We're actually in the middle of her story right now, which is incredible. She talked about how, as a mom, she had a daughter who was having challenges. She didn't even know it. And she decided to come out of the corporate world, didn't really know what she was doing, ended up at an event. We ended up in a conversation. Next thing you know, she's in coaching. And what we really identified in that initial conversation, but really deeply in coaching, was that you had a gift. You really did have a superpower. And that superpower was you could completely transform an executive's career, especially one who may have not been, a little square peg, round hole thing situation going on. And that superpower is incredibly valuable to corporations who, frankly, have a difficult time with their executives at sometimes. That was the real, I think, that was the real light bulb. And then you did what very few people do in the entrepreneurship world, which is you grabbed a hold of something with no excuses, and then you just ran. And as you ran, what happened next?
So I ran with my toolbox. When now my toolbox was organized and it was open, and I had sections, right? And I knew what to pull from where after working one-on-one with Ed. And the first deal came. And I showed up scared shitless. But nobody could tell, because I had Ed in my ear. If I could have worn one of those secret things, Ed, I would have. No one was having the meeting that day. And what I did different that I don't believe I would have done was own that toolbox. I was an executive that day because I was selling executive coaching for a high level,
Very good. Very good.
And his team. And I wanted it all. When he told me what he was struggling with, I'm like, oh my God, this is, like, it was mind blowing. But the openness of this person that did not know me was the result of the confidence and openness that I showed when I showed up there. And what I did is just follow the advice that it gave me, but also own the toolbox. So it took 9 conversations to close that first deal. 9 conversations over like 4 or 5 months. And each one of them, I didn't know what to do on the next one. So the guy, it's the thinker type, if you know, personality, leadership type. So he's the thinker, really high level, but he takes things easy. And one thing that we started talking about, what are we going to charge? I remember talking to Ed, and we're like, okay, so what are your competitors charging? That's what, first thing we thought about. Like, I have no idea. I don't know anybody that's doing these. So what is the top companies? What are the top companies charging? So I researched that quickly, like in half hour. They're charging $1 million for 6 months of service.
Yeah.
And this consulting company is doing exactly what I was ready to do. They, the executive goes presenting it into the other executive, the executive from the consulting firm, and rapport is made. They're expert negotiators, and then they send the rookie person on Monday.
Yep.
And I know that because I've been in the other side. Again, I pulled from my toolbox, and now my toolbox is full of Ed stuff also there, mixed with my stuff. And I said, let's just do a year for half of that. I thought I was like in a comedy show or something. I'm like, I have nothing to lose at this point.
So we're talking about $500,000. Yeah.
Talking about $500,000. I'm like, let's just, and I used that example. I did the comparison, right? I'm like, I don't want to say the name of the company, but you know who they are, the top 4, the top 5. I told the guy exactly what Ed told me to say, because we had several conversations and none of them about price. It was about fit.
Yeah.
I was not in a rush, even though I'm extremely impulsive.
Yeah.
But I learned not to be in a rush. When the conversation came, I was ready. I said, hey, these guys can do the same work. You're going to fall in love with their executive, and on Monday, they're going to send you the rookie person. And they charge $1 million for 6 months. I'll do that for half the price and double the time.
Wow.
I'll be with you and your team a whole year. And the guy said yes. The guy said, that's expensive. I'm like, not if you compare. No, I know what you guys, big companies, I know what they spend in consulting. And he smiled, and I knew that smile was a yes. And like the week later, we're negotiating, signing contracts.
Wasn't it something like he said, hey, we're a little tight on the budget. Would you take 425? I think it was right. Wasn't that the first deal? 425.
Well, he said yes. And he said yes, like on a Thursday. And on Monday, I get this call from this monster person that they had. We have like negotiating, but like he was like arm wrestling with me. And I was like, Ed, what? Do I lower my price? I had no idea what to do. Talk to Ed, obviously. I'm like, they're asking me for 20% off. That's not fair. The president said yes. He's like, no, Mari, that's the whole thing. One said yes, and then they sent you.
Yeah.
We understood the dance. And yes, I closed that one and 4 other ones for $420,000.
So no, catch that. Just stop for a minute. Okay, so this is, oh man, I just love this story. And by the way, if you feel like I have something to share with the world, like if you're watching this and you feel like, man, I wish I could do what Mari-Carmen did and go and share my expertise and get paid well. By the way, she just said 4 deals. That was $425,000. If I remember correctly, there was somebody in another department who was like, hey, could you give me the same deal you gave Fred? And you're like, I'll think about it, And of course, our next coaching day was like, how do I manage my time now that I've got? But that's that's part of the journey. Okay. Some great comments in chat, by the way. Chat just blew up. Okay. So I want to, I'm going to go to this in just a second, but I want to anchor in on a point here. This is so important that you have to just sit in this for a moment. Several times she said, I didn't know what I was going to do, or I didn't know what I was going to say, but I just went into the meeting. I didn't necessarily know what I was going to be delivering, but I went into the meeting. And this is where entrepreneurs stop. And this is why entrepreneurs can be unsuccessful. You will never know what you're going to say in the meeting. You're never going to know what you're going to deliver. You're never necessarily going to know what you're going to say in the interview, okay? You need to just go and do it. And you know what? If you feel stuck and you're not like, I don't know there's ways out of that. You can go, hey, let me look into that and I'll get back to you. But most of the time, you know the answer, and you need to get over your fear, which is what it is, of not knowing or not getting the deal, because when you do, you might find someone pays you $425,000, and you might find that there's 4 other departments that are interested in doing that as well.
Yeah, and the thing is that now looking back, so that was the beginning. That was the beginning of Whole Leadership Systems Inc. I have a company now with employees, and we continue even today. I just closed a big deal like 3 weeks ago. We have continued to offer similar services, but we created the programs for them. We did everything from scratch because it's not that I had that. Actually, I recommend not having everything nailed before going into these meetings. And I think that openness and flexibility was very attractive to this particular client. And then, executives, they move around.
Yep.
People have moved to other companies and they take me with them. The head of HR moved to another company, she took me with her to her company. They introduced people. My business has continued to flourish through referrals. Now the beauty is now let's just go and do things that, strategically waiting for the referral. But
incredible.
It's that, but it's the conviction, what Ed said, the conviction that it is okay to go there and say, let me sleep on it.
Yeah.
Looking back, I know I looked more interesting by not being on top of we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that, because I really, really needed to sleep on it.
Yeah, so it's just a conversation.
Yes.
And you don't get nervous. For example, you don't get nervous walking onto an airplane thinking, gosh, if the person next to me asks, what do I do for a living? You never get nervous about that because there's nothing attached to that. Well, it's the same thing. It's just a conversation. Something might happen, something might not. Either way, you're going to learn, and you're both going to benefit. I have to catch up in chat. There's just been so many comments. Y'all just went and just started, you all dogpiled Mari-Carmen in chat. It's some great comments. Diana Lovejoy says, love it. I truly believe what she just said. You're authentic and empathetic. It's very, very good. Kevin says, I want to get, I'm going to do this question, Kevin, towards the end of the interview. Jeffrey Neal says, I'm thinking about becoming a reinventor. And I love that, Jeff. Thank you for that. I'll give you a resource for this in a moment. Harisha, thank you. She says, in a short time of knowing Ed, I've witnessed his ability to spot or discern personal assets. He says, the mountain of gold drawing is huge. Paul Bigham, who you were in a mastermind with, Mari-Carmen, always enjoyed being in the group. Paul says, Linda Cortez, who's also a coaching member, thank you for the aha. I've been playing small and stumbling around because I lost faith in my mountain of gold. And you truly, Linda, do have one of those. I love the comments, magic words. That's really great. The never-ending toolbox. Again, so many great comments. Thank you, Laura. Welcome to the show. Salih as well. Thank you. Barry said, I've let too many defeats, bad business partners, and allowing controlling people to derail my dreams and ambitions. I now know you truly do, buddy, have a very deep toolbox. Incredible. Bill, this is my quote. He says, if somebody wants to give you money, take it. I actually got that from, hey, Pat Seamer. My man, one of my very first coaching members, Pat, who's grown an incredible 8-figure business. To get you on the show, Pat Zemer, one of these days. It's really, really great. Your story is incredible. By the way, for those of you who just joined us, and we've doubled, Mari-Carmen, we've doubled our viewers since about 10 minutes into the show. So as you're joining us, and most of them have come on Facebook, by the way. Somebody must have sent this out on Facebook, which I really appreciate. For those of you who just joined us, my name's Ed Rush. I'm here with my longtime friend and coaching member, Mari-Carmen Pizarro. We're talking about her incredible transformation from corporate into a consultant back into corporate. And by the way, statistically speaking, you are likely to make on average $37,000 more per year as a consultant instead of an employee in the same industry. And that $37,000, by the way, is industry-wide. That doesn't mean that those statistics are taken from good consultants. Those are just numbers. My experience is that you could typically make 2 to 4 times more as a consultant in an industry than an actual executor in that industry. I said I would give you guys a resource. The resource is right here. It's edrush.com/topgun. I've got a new consulting course coming out in less than a month. We start actually 4 weeks from now. And the insider story on this is next week I'm going to start promoting it. That link I just gave you, the one that on the bottom, that link goes to my checkout page because I did that for an event. Next week I'm going to start promoting the event. We've got the sales letter already built, the webinars and everything. The price is actually going up $500 next week because I gave an event a discount to the people at my event. So it's $500 off right now at that page, and literally next week it goes up. So if you want to get in, there's a guarantee and everything, so you're covered if you can't make it or whatever. But if you want to get in now, now's a great time to get in because next week it's going to be more. There's a little insider story for you right there. And I told you, Jeff, that I would give you a resource. All right, so I want to go back into the story at the point at which, and by the way, as you're watching this, take notes. Mari-Carmen's story is your story. This is your story. The transition, the unknown, the fear, the expertise, the deals. This is your story, okay? So connect with this because this is you, okay? Now, you got the deal, $425,000. Now you're working from home, coming into these companies, working with these executives, starting to see some results. What are you seeing now? What are the biggest challenges you're having now that you've got your own business, now that you're trying to build your own team? What's happening? And at the same time, you're building a personal brand now, right? So for example, I'm going to pull this page up because I have Mari-Carmen's blog. Where are we? Here we go. Actually, it's showing your YouTube page right now, but we've got Mari-Carmen's blog right here. So beautiful, beautiful website, by the way. This is so exemplary of what I consider an incredibly well done website. And so if you're looking for an incredible example, this is one of them. But since she came out of the corporate world, she has done a TED Talk, for example. She's built events for women. She's created some incredible videos. So you built a personal brand. Not only were you doing deals, but you built an excellent, truly, truly world-class personal brand. But that all comes into you being an influencer, right?
Yes, yes. And it's a beautiful journey because there was a moment in time, Eddie, was when we did that VIP day in Philadelphia, where we're like, the business continues to grow and grow and grow. And now I'm growing my team and doing my programs. And that becomes more tactical. And it's like, what now? And all of this thing about building the brand, doing the blog, doing the TED Talk, all of these things come from, all right, now we have to start expanding out into the world. And what happens when you do that, and Eddie was a big proponent of that, gave me a lot of step-by-step instructions on how to do that. But now I'm not sitting waiting for the phone to ring or excited because the phone really does not stop ringing. I knew I wanted more, and I wanted more on my own terms. And let me tell you, I have it. I have even time to babysit my grandson. And now I have grandchildren. I mean, life continues, right? Life doesn't stop. So here's the thing. Live events, all of that is beautiful. And then something happened in March to all of us. A lot of my events got canceled. I'm a speaker also, so I was speaking in several places live, canceled. I had put money down for my second International Women's Leadership Academy, which we do a huge event in New York. Beautiful, beautiful event for corporate women leaders. Canceled, and the refunds and all the time put into that.
Yeah.
That goes to, right. It's not gone. I don't see it as money lost. I see it as money invested because we learned a lot, and you have to pay to, that's my education. But now what? Now I mean, I'm so good live. Now I have to do it on video. And I had to refine my communication skills, specifically my persuasion skills. And I found that I was getting stuck on 4 major persuasion challenges. Ed, do you want me to go into that?
Yeah, I do. And this transition is really important as you're watching this. So I know people who are whose best format and medium is video. Some of you know Mike Koenig's. Mike is better on video than any other medium. I know some people who write. Like if you've ever read Seth Godin's books, very good books. If you've ever seen Seth Godin speak, you're like, that's the guy, you know, but incredible at writing. Mari-Carmen and I share the same gifting, which is we're better. If you put us in front of people, like real people, it's on, right? Yeah. Video's harder, writing is even harder. And so both of us had to transition and train ourselves to be able to do the format that we're doing right now. And part of it comes down to the way you communicate. I started today's show by saying, it's not what you say, it's what people hear. And what Mari-Carmen's going to share with you right now is truly extraordinary in terms of her ability to get people to hear what she's saying. So go.
All right. So 4 major challenges. Let's say you have this idea. Like I have this idea of corporate leadership in America, specifically for women. So it's a beautiful idea. I have research, I have data. I present it on my video, whatever webinar that I'm doing, and crickets in the other side. And it's words because these crickets were like people filling out their application live. I'm like, all right, so there's something else I need to add to this. So I started studying communication, and in my frustration, which was actually a gift, I just read and I was obsessed about it. I'm like, you know what? Masters do whatever it takes. And it's not that I'm a master. I want to be one. So if I want to be a master, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I took courses. I enrolled in a negotiation course in Harvard. Best money spent. It's super, super good. So here's the thing. I have my great idea. I present it. Nobody is there's no reaction. So it could be challenge number 1. That is that the listener doesn't think it's a good idea. They don't think it's a good idea. They don't agree with it. And that's okay. And if I know that, now I know that I can come with a certain specific arguments to literally sell my idea, because now I know they don't think it's a good idea. But that is actually easy, right? Because I have a toolbox, I have coaches, I go look, change my message, get to the people. And now the listener, and now there's no crickets. Now they're like tilting their head. That's a good idea. Great. But still, there's no crickets, but there's no action. They're not signing the dotted line. They're not filling the application. My phone is not, ringing all the time. What's happening? So the second challenge that persuaders or influencers face is that when the receiver of the information believes that nobody else around them is doing it, that with this COVID thing, people are saving money, nobody's spending money in coaching, and it's not happening, so I'm not gonna do it. Not that everyone looks for validation, but internally we do look for that validation, sometimes unconsciously. So imagine this, I get stuck on my strategy for making them understand that it's a great idea. So I'm selling the benefits, but that's not where they're stuck. There's no social proof. So that requires a different level of strategy, right? So, and the strategies basically look for information. No, let me tell you how many people are doing this. And that's why you see marketers bring in examples and studies and data to prove that, hey, all of these other people are on the health bandwagon. All of these other companies are using their money to develop their people now, not later, now that there's more flexibility. All right, so that's great. Let's say they think it's a great idea and they're looking around to their other companies and everyone's doing it. Good. And still they're not signing the dotted line. What happens? So the third challenge that persuaders face is that the receiver of the information believes is too hard to implement. In social science, that is called low perceived ability.
That's good.
So they think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Everyone is doing it, but they think it's not going to work for them.
That's really, really good. So I know you got one more you got to teach this one and the next one. Let's stop here for a second. This is what I got. So when I first started teaching consulting, it was back in 2012. I used to stand up and tell my story. And my story is similar to yours, which is I transitioned and all of a sudden I started getting deals. And then I figured out how to do all these deals and get paid. And I would tell everything and people would be like, hoorah, and they'd be like responding and everyone's excited. And then no one would sign up. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, hoorah, you're all hoorah. But no, and here's what people used to say to me. They would come to the back and they go, wow, that was so great, Ed. Thank you for that. It was such a great story. I was super inspired. It's just that I wasn't a fighter pilot. And then they would walk away. And I realized they were telling themselves it was a lie that they were believing, but it was a lie perpetuated by the fact that my entire teaching was about me, And so what I had to do is reorganize the way that I communicated to break down the beliefs that people had, and then to show them examples of other people that had success so that they wouldn't have that excuse anymore. Anyway, keep going on the number 3. This is really good.
That's awesome. And what if they really do not? So that's called low perceived ability. They don't think it's going to work for them.
Yep.
So that's exactly one of the ways to fix it. But let's say they do have low ability. It's not a perception. They do not know how to do it.
Yeah.
Then, darling, if you want to be in this business and you want to be a consultant, you must provide for them a path so that not only that they do it, they learn it, they believe it.
Yeah. Really good. Really good. And that's, again, the word that she used, and we've been using this word this whole interview, is the word perceived. This word may be one of the top 10 most powerful words in marketing, not for you to use the word, but for you to understand. There's 2 parts to perception. There is how you perceive yourself. And then there's how your market perceives you. And truly, in the marketing world, perception is more important than reality. If you've ever been to a magic show in Las Vegas, you'll know perception is more important than how did he make the elephant disappear. You just said he made the elephant disappear. You and I know that the elephant's back there someplace, but the perception is what's most important. And it starts with how you perceive yourself. If you don't have the gifts or the ability or the skill set that you think you have, well, go get a deal and then go figure it out. It's basically my approach to it at this point. But good, this is great. So some incredible comments, by the way, lots of yeses and goods and wows. All right, so cool. So keep going. I think you've got one more point, and then I'm going to go to a couple questions. We're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, really. But I want you guys to understand that what Ed was doing behind when people were going to him, he was listening and he was providing to a different answer. Mm-hmm. What we do, and I see a lot of consultants and entrepreneurs do, they go back to challenge number 1 and they continue to sell you the benefits. So what happens if you have low perceived ability? I go back to sell you the benefits, but it's good. It's going to help you do whatever you want. Let's say it's losing weight and you think you're like, that's not going to work for me. And I continue to sell you the healthy lifestyle, but and you agree with that. You're going to shut me down.
So good. So good. Let's use this example. Okay. So some benefits to taking this healthy fitness program. You're going to feel great. You're going to look great. You're going to have your beach body back. You're going to finally lose that extra 10 pounds. But if in the prospect's mind, they're saying, hey, I've tried everything and it didn't work, so this won't work for me either. You can keep talking about benefits and it's going to hit this invisible wall. And the person will go, I really do want to lose 10 more pounds. And I really want to feel great. And they'll agree with you on all the benefits and they'll never sign up with you because they have a perception that this won't work for me, which if your prospect is saying that, 25 more benefits won't help them. What will, however, help them is a communication style that breaks down this belief system, this won't work for me. And one of the most effective ways to do that is to start by saying, now, you may be saying to yourself, this won't work for me, but let me show you some examples of some people who believe that and how their lives changed, okay? And listen, it's not that hard. It just starts with acknowledging that belief system inside the person's mind. So this is extremely powerful, high-level persuasion stuff that Mari-Carmen is sharing. So So write this stuff down because it's really, really important. Keep going.
And the last one, thank you, Ed, for all of the, you just make the contents better, is that, let's say they agree it's a great idea. Yeah, I'm on the bag. I believe eating this way is healthier for me. It's better for me. They look around on their friends, their family, they're supportive, they're doing it. They have, and they know they can do it. Now they're in that moment, they're like, you know what? Oh, yeah, I can do that. And they don't take action. It happens, right? How do we as communicators or influencers help the person that we want to persuade convert their intentions into actions? Has been for me the most challenging one, because sometimes they even signed the dotted line.
Yeah.
Right, Ed? Don't we all get clients that pay and then they're not doing the work?
Yep.
And we need to be very vigilant. The first thing usually people do is judge. Oh, he's lazy. He's in my program. He's not. I told you I used to do a lot of personal training, and those examples are so easy. Person agrees it's a great idea. Everybody else is doing it. There's support. They know they can do it. They purchase the program, and then they don't go to the gym. They don't do their part. They don't convert their intention. There's a true intention into action. And a lot of people, that what we do naturally is we go to judgment. Oh, he's lazy. They don't care. There's no commitment. Not necessarily. There's a whole, bunch of stuff happening in their mind that we don't even know about if we're not listening for where are they stuck. So one of the easy things, two things to convert intentions into actions. Some people, all they need is a prompt. It's super easy. A prompt, a reminder. You have to make it easier for them. I had a client that was stuck on this one, and she was a high-level executive, but her stuckness level was with her husband. She wanted her husband to remember anniversaries and weddings, all those things that men forget.
Yeah.
Some of them, because mine doesn't, but some of them. And she wanted to make it difficult for him. Sometimes we want to make it difficult. They have to do the work and they have to do this. No, let's just make it easy for our client. And in that case, her husband, all he needed was a prompt, was a reminder. And sometimes we get stuck with a judgment. They don't care. They're lazy. Get curious. I invite you to move from judgment to curiosity. Do that.
Oh man, that is so good. I got to tell you. So first of all, I agree with this. Jim Butt says this has been the best hour I've spent in the past 6 months. Which, by the way, this is the 69th episode of EdTalks Live, Jim. So there has to have been.
Thank you, Jim.
One of those 68 episodes. I'm just kidding. This has been extremely powerful. I am going to ask you. I want to do more of this with you. And I don't do that a lot, but so I'm going to ask you, I'd like to interview you, but I want to interview you inside of this next, this consulting course that I have. So I'm going to talk to you about that offline. Those of you going to Top Gun Consultant, I'm going to try to get you a bonus because I want to break down how you did this. This last point, gosh, I wish we had more time for this, but we'll go deeper on this when we do our next interview. This last point as a consultant, advisor, or a coach is extremely important because you got paid and you started working with someone, and it's not always perfect because the world is a fallen place, and you know what, people have difficulty. So maybe you're working with somebody who's now into implementation, but they've got some fears that they're dealing with and they're trying, but it's not working out for them. If they reach out to you and they say it's not working, the tendency as a consultant is to be like, oh, he doesn't think I did a good job, And then the next step is to do exactly what Mari-Carmen said, which is you go, oh, he's just lazy, Oh, they're not an implementer. But truly, sometimes all they need is this. And I'm not even exaggerating. I had a client who was exactly like that. She asked me a question, I gave her the answer. She asked me another question, I gave her the answer. And I could tell that she was relying on me as like a crutch. And she wasn't reaching the success that she wanted. And she kind of reached out again. This isn't working. And all I did is go, I believe in you. That's it. I just said, I believe in you. And I kid you not, a week later, she's like, I had this big breakthrough. And Ed, thank you for not answering my question and just saying, I believe in you, because I realized I needed to do this on my own. So what you just said is so, so powerful. Oh, man. I have one question for you. We're running out of time, dude, and I could do this for another hour at least, but I need to get to this because I promised that I would ask this question. So let me get to it real quick. I'm going to have you answer this question as our wrap up. Okay, so let's do this. And by the way, right below you is a website, Mari-Carmen.com/persuasion. That actually goes right to her blog. That's not like an opt-in page or anything. It's a really great article on the difference between persuasion and manipulation. Great, really well written. Read that, and then find the place on her website where you can get on her email list because her teaching is very powerful. Let's end with this question. I really like this from Kevin. He says, what's one big thing, if there is one, that gave you the most pause to strike out on your own and the biggest thing you had to overcome just to get started? Because really, the implementation from this interview is the most important thing. So take us there, and then we'll wrap it up.
The biggest thing I had to overcome just to get started was the feeling, and it was a feeling of, and I said it before, sitting on my sofa. I can look at the sofa right now, sitting on that sofa and literally feeling naked. I had a business card with a pretty name, business name that I invented, an LLC, whatever, and it didn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
It didn't have to, remember, I transitioned from a well-established organization. I didn't even have an admin my first year. So it was that feeling of isolation, and I call it nakedness. I know that doesn't resonate but that's how I felt. I felt I had no protection. And because I told you I went through a journey with my daughter, my spiritual practices were higher.
Yeah.
I had developed, and I went and looked for those tools where I looked inside of myself and I connected with God every single morning, so that those feelings, they were there, but they were not predominant. You know, I was carrying the bag, and eventually the bag fell off and life took off, and it's good.
Oh, wow. Wow. All right. So you need to give a big round of applause in chat. Please say thank you. Tell us your biggest takeaway. Mari-Carmen and I will stick around and chat for just a few minutes. Bill Boovin says, hey, how can a 30-year-old woman be a grandmother?
Love it.
Thank you. That's nice. I always put the compliments in chat. Harish says Masterful. By the way, Harish is a very long time experienced consultant as well, as is Lanika. Jim Butts said it took a Philly lady to get through. Jim, I'm a Philly boy, man. I grew up.
Jim, let's talk.
Yeah. So, Catherine, this has been incredibly helpful. Really, really, really great. You truly are amazing. Go to her website below. Stay on with me, Mari-Carmen, because we're going to get you. We're going to try to I want you to come in and teach a module inside of this new product that I'm creating. And Melanie, who I think is also from Philly as well. So I have an idea for you. So for those of you inside of Top Gun Consulting, you're going to get, I think, a bonus. I can't promise it yet because we haven't had our conversation, but and a truly extraordinary interview from a truly extraordinary person. So thank you for taking your time. You always impress, and I just really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. This is so much fun. This is my passion. This is love. Thank you, guys.
I need to run up on my Spanish too. Comments keep rolling in. Philly, Kevin says thank you. Robert says thank you. Sally, really, really incredible. You never know what you're going to get, and I'm really thankful for this interview. Hey, look, all you have to do is just implement one of the things in this interview, and you got the result back from your hour. Take the time today to do what the next step is for you to get closer to a deal so that you can go help somebody. And if you're not in Top Gun Consulting, now's the time to do that. I will be telling you more about that next week. Mari-Carmen Pizarro, thank you very much. This is Ed Talks Live, and we are so close to being on time. I got 5 seconds until we're done. Thank you for watching. I love you, and I like you, and we'll talk to you soon.